Before the review starts, a quick update as to what's going on this month. Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Here we are in the most wonderful time of year, December, just to keep you guys up to speed on what's going on this month. Well guys, a little date for your diary, well mine to be precise. As you may have known, due to my epilepsy, I'm in a priority group for the COVID-19 vaccine. My appointment for my third booster is on the 13th of December. Apparently, I might be switched from the AstraZeneca to the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. Now I have 110% of those vaccine. The NHS has saved my life more times than can be counted. So I have every confidence this switch will be safe and effective should it happen. Now my only concern which I have is of course my epilepsy. So as a precautionary measure there will be no review recommencing the 13th of December. However, that does not mean that the content will be completely dry that week, as I have a little something special. Instead of a generic review, I will be finishing off a journey that I started in September. That's right guys, the concluding part of DGR Plays Freedom Fighters for the PC will be posted that week. The revolution is going to make a make or break attack on Governor's Island to kick the Soviets out of New York once and for all. So I will end this blog update with an open question. I know it would seem a little cliched, but here we are in December. What would you say is in the top of your wish list from Santa Claus this year? Let me know in the comments. With that aside, on with this review. Just a quick reminder guys, these narrations are best enjoyed with headphones on. Hey everyone, this week I reviewed the 3 games from the Grand Theft Auto series from the PS2 library that really put the console on the map. Remastered for next generation systems, has this trilogy of remasters redeemed itself after its failures at launch? Let's find out. The Grand Theft Auto series is one of the most recognizable, successful, nowadays repetitive. Grand Theft Auto 4 has been ported to a grand total of 4 times, including the up-and-coming port for the Xbox Series S and X. The series started out similar to the combo system in fighting games, nothing more than a glitch. Dundee-based developers DMA Design, at the time anyway, was working on a top-down street racing game in the same vein as Micro Machines. The game was originally to be called Race and Chase. However, during the playtesting of the game, the glitch became apparent. During encounters, the police were too aggressive towards you, especially while trying to ram your car off the road. So DMA Design left the glitch intact, completely redesigned the game around you becoming a criminal. And so the spike in crime began in 1997, where DMA Design released the very first Grand Theft Auto game of the series, was released for the PlayStation and PC. The game received a lot of controversy at the time. Both the British and German government condemned the game due to its violent content. But as for the Brazilian government, well, they banned it outright. The game received 2 mission packs inspired by Michael Caine's hit film set in 1989 and 1981 respectively. These 2 mission packs was released in 1999. Also released that year was the game's sequel, Grand Theft Auto 2, released on various formats including the ill-fated Sega Dreamcast. In 2001, the Grand Theft Auto franchise we know and love came to fruition as Grand Theft Auto 3 was released for Sony's behemoth console, the PS2, and it was also later ported to PC. Fun fact for you guys, did you know that the game was shaped by the terror attacks on the World Trade Center on September the 11th, 2001? Rockstar main office was located just a few blocks away from where the tower stood. Obviously the game had to be delayed and changes had to be made. And in an interview with the head of Rockstar, Dan Houser, stated that the game box art had to be completely redone. Also, the colours of the police cars had to be changed to remove the similarities to the NYPD. Also, the flight path of the non-player character plane had to be changed. The original flight path was very close to a skyscraper. Also, there's speculation as to the reason why the game's aircraft, the Dodo, was so devilishly hard to fly. This entry of the trilogy was centered around Claude Speed, who was caught in the center of a bank robbery. It was up to you to work with various gangs operating Liberty City and locate and take revenge against their girlfriend, Catalina, not to the tech and variety, of course. The next up of our tour of the Grand Theft Auto series is, of course, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, released to the public in 2002, again for the PS2. The game was later ported to PC systems and Xbox consoles, and various other formats later on down the line. The reception from both critics and the GT community is nothing but stellar. Some people considered Vice City to one of the best games of the franchise. Set in the year 1986, you play as Tommy Vercetti, a mobster who was recently released from a 15-year prison sentence for murder. During his prison sentence, the Mafia, led by Sonny Ferrelli, who was seeking to establish drug operations in the southern states, he then sent Tommy and a crooked lawyer, Ken Rosenberg, to Vice City to oversee an important drug deal with a Colombian cartel. The deal went sour as an unknown assailant ambushed the deal and took the cash and the merchandise with them. It was up to you to explore Vice City's criminal underbelly and get to the bottom of what's happened to the drug deal before the Mafia comes knocking at your door. And the last stop of this tour of this remastered collection is, of course, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, released to the public in that fateful year 2004, fittingly in 1992, set in the fictional state of San Andreas, which is loosely based upon the sections of California and Nevada. You play as Carl C.J. Johnson, who was returned to San Andreas to attend his mother's murder, who was killed in a drive-by shooting. Upon his arrival, the local corrupt police force arrested Carl and threatened to frame him for murder. During his absence, his gang has lost a lot of influence and territories from their rival gang, the Ballers. It is up to you to help his family to gain the influence and territory and find out what happened to your mother. The accessibility scores are as follows. To kick things off, visibility given 9.5. In all three games of the trilogy, there is a Colorblind Mode. This Colorblind Mode seems to be very accessible for a player with a visual impairment. However, if you add extra Colorblind modes, would make this game a lot more accessible. So a player with a visual impairment should be able to play this game with no issues. Next up on the agenda, Audibility given 11. There is subtitles available in the accessibility section in the options menu. Again, this applies to all three games of this remastered collection. You can also enlarge the size of the subtitles and hint text so a player with a hearing impairment can read the subtitles without the risk of the player getting any eye strain. So a player with a hearing impairment should be able to play this game very easily. Next up, mobility given 9. There are interchangeable control layouts available. You can set these controls to be more like the original games on the PS2. But the other two layouts are for the people who are accustomed to this generation. However, there's little to no differences between these two layouts. So this game is playable for a player with a mobility impairment, but fully customized layouts and individual stick layouts would make this game a lot more accessible. Last but certainly not least, gameplay given 9. Let's be brutally honest here. At launch, this game was a total disaster. The rain effect makes the game harder to see. The lack of volumetric fog makes the map feel a lot smaller when flying around San Andreas. And in Vice City in 3's case, it is less important as these two games are merely a city. and that is only scratching the surface here. However, in its current state at time of writing, the majority of the teething problems facing the trilogy has been fixed. However, it would have been a lot better if Grove Street Games were to delay the launch of the game for a few weeks. The sheer feeling of nostalgia was flooding in when I started playing Grand Theft Auto 3. I remember playing the original PS2 version when I was lying in my bed in Air Hospital. The sheer amount of lifespan you'll be getting is a lot. What you will be getting is 3 expansive games which were genre defining at the time as you explore the cities, completing missions, and of course stealing cars, and finally, and most importantly, getting into trouble with the police. These 3 games feel unique and fresh. Graphically, these games look a little lackluster compared to other games on the Series X, for example Microsoft Flight Simulator. But let's be fair here though guys, these games are released roughly 20 years ago, or in Grand Theft Auto 3's case, exactly 20 years ago. In summary, Grand Theft Auto The Trilogy Definitive Edition is probably the best way to rekindle those childhood memories in front of a PlayStation 2 playing these games. These 3 games have a lot of lifespan. It is going to take you well into the new year to 100% one of these 3 games. If you're a fan of the Grand Theft Auto series or a PS2 diehard, I cannot seriously recommend this game enough to you, and the overall score is a massive 96.25%. See you guys in the next review. Spartan Commander 1980 and CR Snake out. Roll out, Spartan Legion.